Welcome to Tamara Lynette Tales. I'm Tamara, and I spill the tea on your favorite reality stars. Married at First Sight, Season 15, Episode 14. First, I want to take a moment to congratulate the two winners of the Small Business Product Showcase giveaway. High Harris FL won the self-care package, and Alicia E won the Playful Bling package. Congratulations! Your packages will be in the mail shortly. Be sure to check out that video and please support one of those small businesses. So, this was a couples retreat episode, and although the experts try to bill it as an opportunity for the couples to spend time reconnecting and strengthening their bond, drama always jumps off on the couples retreat, and Miguel and Lindy took center stage. Now, initially, I was on the blame Miguel train for his annoying response to Lindy, but after thinking about it and filling in a few puzzle pieces with things we've learned in previous episodes, as well as this one, I actually see Miguel to be in kind of a Krysten situation, where he's perhaps tolerated too much, and now resentment has built up. Let's get into it. It started on day one of the retreat. Since Lindy didn't get to have a prom, the couples decided to throw her a prom night, which was really sweet and thoughtful. So everyone was at this big, beautiful mansion getting dressed for the prom, and then we hear Lindy and Miguel in their room. And to give a little extra context to this, according to Lindy on After Party, Miguel told her that he was exhausted from a long week at work and filming and needed to chill and relax before going down to the prom. So we hear them in their room. Lindy says, "How are you doing?" "Just chilling." "Look how pretty it is out there." "Okay, get a picture of me looking out this window." "Don't do a selfie because you have to get the good." "Oh, babe, come on, not a selfie. You're making me mad."
"Why?"
"Because I want the good quality ones." "No, come on."
But I don't appreciate that tone, I'll tell you that."
"Oh, I was kidding."
"Was it kidding?"
"I promise I was."
"I'm also just not in the mood to be like your personal photographer."
"I'm sorry."
"If I'm resting and laying down, to have to stand up to take a photo of you felt very much like, that's what you're doing, I don't care what you're doing, get up here and take a picture of me."
"That was not my intention at all."
Try to do better of reading the room. Like, don't expect me to be your personal photographer.
"I really don't want to fight over a stupid photo, though." So this is a situation where they were fighting over a photo, but it's not really about the photo. But Miguel was right. Lindy wasn't kidding, and she was frustrated with Miguel, and that fussing was real. I think Miss Singh got a little frustrated, a little too fast about it. And Miguel was tired and cranky, and he should have reminded Lindy that he needed to take a nap. Like,
"Babe, let me relax for 15 more minutes, then I'll take your little picture."
So all of the couples make their way downstairs to the prom, and they're all taking like shots and had photo shoots as couples and friends. The production staff put together a little Married at First Sight yearbook, which looked like there were photo albums that had pictures of all the couples in various points throughout the season. Then we see Lindy and Miguel, aka Lingale, on the dance floor talking about their communication during their fight. So Miguel accused her of gaslighting him when she said she was just kidding
"Because you were genuinely annoyed."
"But at first I thought you were messing with me, but then I was like, come on, do it right, like, ugh."
And Miguel was like, "No, not with me."
So they're going around in circles.
"You were annoyed."
"Yeah, but at first I thought you were joking."
"But that tone you use, you don't talk to me like that ever. Like, why would you talk to me like that?"
"It was just a missed joke."
"But it wasn't a joke. You were annoyed. Pick a side. You've never yelled at me like that before."
"You think I was yelling?"
"Yeah, I do perceive that to be an outburst."
Now, this conversation was extremely annoying because Miguel seemed to be nitpicking everything Lindy said. Plus, he doesn't seem to be a good communicator. I also believe he's got some real fear here because decision day is only about 10 days away. It's one thing to say I do when she's a stranger, but it's scarier to say yes on decision day knowing that he may be committing to someone he's been warned can go off the rails.
To the confessional cam, he said, "You're either upset or you're not, but you were upset, and the lack of transparency is making me upset."
So Miguel reaches over and gives Lindy a kiss, and then they go back to the prom. And they had Married at First Sight Superlative Awards, which were kind of fun. Nate won Best Dancer. Most emotional went to, of course, Weeping Willow. For most likely to save the planet, when announcing the winner, Krysten called him Son of a Mitch, my nickname for him. So best all around went to Stacia, and most likely to have multiple divorces was Krysten. She even voted for herself, so I take that as a little spoiler alert. Like, keep in mind that decision day is just right around the corner. So Alexis won for life of the party and biggest gossip. To the confessional cam, Nate said she's a gossip queen. She's the one that caused Ben and Caddy's divorce straight up. So the biggest drama queen went to Lindy. Now, I don't think we should gloss over that, because think about it. Based on what we've seen so far, would you have picked Lindy as the drama queen? Like over Alexis or Caddy even? To me, this serves as a reminder that we don't see everything about their personalities. So when it comes to her fight with Miguel, I believe this is one of those clues that can be easily overlooked. He's been putting up with some over-the-top behavior from this drama queen all along. We just haven't seen it. So later we see Lindy and Miguel in bed, and they're talking about how good it was to have that conversation right in the middle of the dance floor during her one and only opportunity to have a prom. But they were happy to be able to communicate their feelings. And then Stacia and Nate burst into the room with their used sex swing for Lingel to try. It was fun watching both couples be playful and have a good time. And Nate was demonstrating for Lindy how to get into the swing. And then Lindy hopped in while Miguel assumed the position. Given all the soft porn we've seen on this show so far, this was like watching the Disney Channel in comparison. The next morning when we see Lingel in bed, both of them seemed like they were in a good mood when they said that they were going to go on a carriage ride. So in the meantime, Alexis and Weeping Willow went to a vineyard and they talked about how it felt since they consummated their marriage. Unfortunately, Alexis didn't think it was that great, so I don't believe having sex will help them in the long run. Krysten and Son of a Mitch did some archery. They decided to put the question of attraction behind them and shot an arrow through the word of attraction as a symbol of letting go. Now, I have to say that I am very disappointed that Krysten apologized for speaking her truth at what they are now calling Poolgate. How she allowed Son of a Mitch to flip it up and turn that conversation against her.
I felt attacked.
Where she was like in tears apologizing even, instead of saying, "Good, you should feel attacked. Stop talking to my sister about my looks." Be honest with yourself, Krysten. You were speaking your truth and you delivered it in a way he deserved it. I don't think you owe that man an apology other than to say, "Sorry, I didn't say it sooner." Anyway, they had fun playing archery. Meanwhile, Lingel headed out for their carriage ride. And to the confessional cam, Miguel said he's feeling good after having a good conversation with Lindy about being more patient and less accusatory towards each other. That's good. So this was Lindy's first carriage ride, and so she was all excited. Miguel thought that this would be a good time to recite one of his poems, and I was thinking, wow, oh, how romantic. But then he spoke.
It was a sunny day, driving on a burnt down the bay. I looked across the way and saw her hair flat.
I'm like, what was that? It was like he was trying to do hip-hop poetry, but it was more like nerd hop. Just some random sentences strung together.
Sorry, Miguel, but that's gonna be a no for me, dog.
So meanwhile, Lindy had the attention span of a gnat and kept interrupting him. "Did you see that little bunny? Oh, look at that dog. Oh, those horses are so pretty." Granted, she was being in the moment and taking in the scenery and appreciating it, but it was annoying as hell because he could barely finish a sentence without her getting distracted by anything and everything that moved. Then he decided to grace us with another nerd hop random sentence flow. She interrupted that one. "Oh yeah, I heard this one before because I didn't know what Icarus was." So this pushed Miguel back into another funk. So they make it to their destination and Lindy asks him a question. And while he's answering it, she interrupts him again. Oh my God, these people have their iPhones out. I can't. So Miguel gets frustrated and calls her out. He doesn't want to keep talking to her because at any moment her attention is going to go elsewhere. She said this is her personality. She has a bird brain and gets easily distracted. So what? I can't just comment on things that I see are going on around me? Not like that, Lindy. You're just being rude. But this launches them into another annoying fight where neither of them are being good communicators. He's saying he doesn't want to compete for her attention, and she's saying she doesn't know what to do because it's her personality. Then he makes a silly comment.
Well, you never had a husband that stuck around before.
And she said, have you had a wife that stuck around? Like, dude, what are you trying to say? This communication is so bad. Like all of their fights this episode, this one didn't have to be so deep. Like, just say, you keep cutting me off and it's frustrating me. And Lindy, this shouldn't be a fight. You shouldn't be fighting for the right to regularly cut him off when he's talking. So Miguel was frustrated with Lindy, Lindy was frustrated with Miguel, and I was frustrated with everybody. And who on earth do we have to pay to get an expert to come in and help these people? I feel like their issues just needed a mediator. An expert probably could have helped them get to the meat of Miguel's frustration instead of watching him lash out at her every time she blinked. So Lindy walks away crying, and Miguel goes after her and asks her to sit back down so they can continue talking. And she's asking, like, where do we go from here? And he's talking about how he doesn't know because they've never had a blow up like this before. And she's like, you think this is a blow up? A blow up is where like emotions are running high and things are being said that shouldn't be. You don't want to see a blow up. See, that right there. I think hearing those types of threats from Lindy and the experts all season is messing with Miguel's head. I feel like he's forcing problems so he can set that boundary with her before decision day. So to the confessional cam, Lindy is saying, the fact that he is saying that this is an outburst, he can't handle my outburst. But why should anyone have to, Lindy? You wear your outburst like a badge of honor, but it's not. Nobody signed up to deal with you and your outburst. It's not cute. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, the ladies, Alexis, Stacia, and Krysten, are preparing dinner while Alexis talks about how bad the sex was without talking about how bad the sex was. She says the first time it was a little awkward because we're still figuring each other out. And to the confessional camp, she said, my husband has been celibate for 1.5 years, so his stamina wasn't where it needs to be at. Then she says to the ladies, I have a question. If you met your husband and it wasn't good, but he's an amazing person, what would you say? So both Stacia and Krysten said that they would stick around. Alexis said, I've been in other relationships where it wasn't bomb, but I'm here for different reasons. So it sounds like we have at least 2 sexually frustrated wives this season, Krysten and Alexis. But that's information I could have lived my entire life without knowing. So before heading down to dinner, Stacia gives Nate a remote control that operates some vibrating panties she's wearing. Now we all know that's not a good idea. Wearing vibrating panties on TV with a group of people? Yeah, something unexpected is bound to happen. Meantime, back at the Lean Gale soap opera, they're outside and Lindy's taking selfies and she wants to get a video of herself, so she goes out of her way to not ask Miguel to do it, but ask one of the producers. So she tells Miguel, no, I don't want to offend you. So that puts Miguel in yet another funk.
I'm just saying, it's not like you can never ask me for a photo or video. Like, if you read the room, what is it telling you?
Well, before you weren't feeling replenished and rested, so that wasn't a good time, but now you're feeling replenished and it's safe to ask?
Okay, well, I just want to make sure you're understanding what I'm saying. Otherwise, the hours of conversation we had earlier were a waste of time, and I'm wondering if it's even worth it.
Okay, can I have a hug?
No, because out there you're like, I just can't win, and now you're like, I don't understand. Which is it? It's like frustrating because I'm getting like 2, because which is it again? Miguel, by now, aren't you getting on your own damn nerves? Because you sure are getting on mine. So they start going back and forth again, where he's nitpicking almost every word she says again. She says, I'm confused. I try not to bother you by asking you for a photo. Then you get mad at me. I wasn't mad.
What? You were mad. Now who's gaslighting who? I asked you for a hug and you said no.
Yeah, because I don't feel connected to you right now.
You're not letting me in.
I am letting you in, and maybe I'm letting you in too much. Like, maybe that's the problem.
Aha. See, once again, that's fear talking. Remember in the beginning of the season, he didn't take this process seriously. In his own words, he said he was skeptical. Then a few weeks later, he's professing his love to her. I don't believe he expected to feel this way so fast. I think he's freaking out and is behaving like a jerk. So Lindy's frustrated. I'm confused. If I ask you, it's wrong. If I don't ask you, it's wrong.
If you don't understand the nuance between me wanting to rest and feeling okay,
well, I played it safe. I didn't want to disturb you.
Well, maybe you should have asked me if I felt like taking a picture.
Miguel, you did say I'm not your personal photographer. Don't expect me to be your photographer. That doesn't sound like an open invitation to ask you to take a picture. So if Lindy says she's confused, he questions the relationship because of her confusion. If she says, I thought I was doing the right thing, then he says, I question why you thought it was right. Maybe this isn't gonna work. Lindy was literally stuck between a rock and a Miguel face. Like, there was no way to get out of this situation other than crying and running away, which she finally did. So to the confessional cam, he said,
the negative version of me is not a good person. It's disagreeable, very moody, low-key disrespectful, all the negative things you could ascribe to a person. That's like me and what being negative is.
So here all this time, we were waiting for a Lindy outburst. Meanwhile, Miguel was the one that we needed to have our eye on. Just because he kept his cool doesn't mean it wasn't an outburst. He was scrapping with that girl. And he's got his nerve calling her negative all the time. He got her beat. So Lindy told him, I feel like you're trying to find reasons to not be with me because I do have tendencies of being inconsiderate. I do tend to not be able to read the room. I'm gonna assume you're great until you tell me you're not. That's on you. Yes and no. There's got to be a balance there, sweet pea. And being completely oblivious to your man's mood all the time? Well, actually, that sounds a little awesome. Meantime, the rest of the group was eating dinner and talking about their little excursions while Stacia was squirming in her chair. Nate was tearing her butt up with those vibrating panties. So the other couples were talking about their feelings while all you could hear in the background was then Stacia says, good old Alexis busted them out. Are you wearing vibrating panties or something? Nate and Stacia confessed, then Stacia got up and ran to the bedroom and changed. So later that night, Miguel finally made a little appearance. And Miguel admits to being irritable, grumpy, and super sensitive all weekend and taking it out on Lindy. And he apologized to her for being that way. So good God, Miguel, you wore us all out with your little shenanigans. Then Krysten pops in the room dressed like a man doing her son of a Mitch impression, which to me looked like a drunk hip-hop hobo doing a one-man show. But to them, she seemed to have nailed it, so there's that. The next day, they all met up in the kitchen to discuss playing dodgeball. Everyone seems to be excited about playing, but Miguel is in the corner, a little bit out of it. To the confessional cam, he said he's ready to go home, but he knows Lindy wants to stay and continue to have fun with the other couples and him, so he's going to stick it out. I mean, come on, Miguel. Perk up, Buttercup. To the rest of the group, he says he knows he's been low energy and apologized to Lindy again. He said he's terrified because he wants to make this relationship work, but he's not sure if he knows how to, and they need to sit down and discuss how they can make it work. He sucked all of the fun energy out of the room, but I did catch that he said he's terrified, and I believe Miguel needs help managing his fear though, because it's coming across very stank. Experts, where are you? So they pick teams to play dodgeball and agree that they're going to split up the husband and wives so that they're not on the same teams as their spouses. So Lindy was competitive, but in a playful way, and her team won the first round, and during the second round, it came down to Nate against Miguel. So Miguel missed hitting Nate. So Lindy was cheering Nate on, her teammate, to get Miguel. And Miguel's like, dang, whose side are you on? And she's like, I'm on my side, baby.
Well, I'm on your side too. Way to throw me under the bus. All right, good to know these things.
Oh, here we go. Miguel all up in his feelings again. After he loses, he fusses at Lindy.
Thanks for the words of affirmation. Could have cheered on your husband.
Dude, if you are aware how you are when you get in these moods, why don't you just shut up? So afterwards, the team sat down separately to chat about, well, mostly Miguel. So Miguel says that Lindy tends to get animated and she's not really yelling, but her voice elevates. So to regulate her, he tends to shut down a little bit, but then he feels like he's censoring himself.
He said it becomes like a vicious cycle because you begin to despise the person you're becoming. These things keep happening and I keep feeling disconnected.
And Krysten is nodding in agreement because she seems to be relating to him based on her situation.
And to the confessional cam, Stacia said that Lindy is a very emotional person and Miguel is probably not used to that, and she's not sure if they were meant to be together. So meanwhile, Lindy is telling her team that it's an intense process and she needs to learn how to support him. And then she starts crying and saying, "Me being myself is just never right with Miguel. I can't open my mouth. I can't be supportive. Everything I do is not right." So her fear is that he may have been holding all of this in for too long and has now hit his limit. She said he told her, "I don't know, I might be done." So if you remember, before he got married, Miguel's friends said that he tends to stay in relationships longer than he should. He even said in an earlier episode that women in his past have been blindsided when he broke up with them. But given how outspoken he is, I found that hard to believe at first. But watching him in this episode, I see what he does. He holds in his feelings until he explodes about something that's small or silly, which confuses the heck out of his mates. As I mentioned earlier, Lindy is described by her friends and even the cast members as being a drama queen and temperamental, even though we haven't really seen it. That clearly bothers the heck out of Miguel, but apparently he's been shutting down in order to deal with it. Well, until she asked him to take a picture, and he unleashed all of his anger, frustration, aggravation, menstruation, like all the Asians on her. Now, I'm not making excuses for Miguel because his behavior was ridiculous, annoying, and destructive. What I'm saying is, I think that I see where it's coming from. All this time, Miguel has held back or withdrew or mellowed down his personality to accommodate Lindy's, and now he's resentful because he was doing this dance in order to make this relationship work, similar to what Krysten did. And just like Krysten, this is his fault. He needed to be honest with Lindy and himself about what he was willing to tolerate from the very beginning. Now he's scared because he's almost at the end of this experiment and doesn't have enough time to address all these issues he's had with her all along before decision day rolls around. Woo-wee! This was a frustrating episode to watch. I was literally yelling at my TV screen. Let's hope that by next week they're able to get some help from an expert maybe, and I'll meet you in that next video.